Welcome on board.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Hello, Andrew. Thank you so much also for sharing your time. Your time is, I think, very valued at the moment. You're still in the launching process, I guess.
Yeah, I'm launches mostly, but I'm definitely still working on some changes to the game and stuff because of early access. We're always looking to improve things.
So, Power of 10, we had already a look last week, I guess. We saw a trailer. We will also see the trailer today. And this is the first important question that I always ask: coffee or tea for you?
Oh, coffee for sure.
Coffee for sure. That's perfect. That's
I drink
the
coffee
right
every
dude.
day. Used to be a tea person, but my wife's family drinks. Oh well, my father-in-law actually drinks coffee like 3 or 4 times a day. So I kind of like fell into habit with that family. So definitely a coffee guy now.
So at least for here, it's perfect. You know, you're at the captain's coffee table.
Yeah.
Power of 10. Tell us a little bit while I show the page of it for everyone. What are we talking about today? What is this? What is Power of 10?
So Power 10 is a little game that I made, basically solo developed. I have one guy that helps me with the music, but otherwise it's all myself that made it. And it is a little space, somewhat open world, semi-open world, I say, because it has a lot of open world aspects, but still kind of a smaller game, so I wouldn't say it's fully open world. And it's basically kind of a arcadey roguelike where you are trying to save each individual planet, and the way you do that is you power up these shield generators and protect them from the attacks of the enemies. So you have this element of not only preservation for yourself and like trying to power up your ship and progress, but also trying to save everyone else that's in the galaxy from this kind of existential threat that's happening all across the regions.
You said roguelike. What kind of roguelike elements do we expect there?
Yeah, so there's a lot of roguelike elements. I mean, it's not a traditional roguelike where you're like doing turn-based and stuff like that, but it's has like a random generation of everything. It's pretty much random generated. And then you have some permadeath but also some progression where you unlock different ships and you can find random weapons, can find random upgrades, a lot of random elements. So every run is very unique and a different playthrough every time. You're never into the same run with the same setup usually.
So basic roguelike elements, like you die, you start over again, but you can keep some things, you say.
Along the way, you can find things in the galaxy, like other ships, and that's in finding those and empowering those up, you can unlock them for playing next time. So that's the main element that you can unlock. There's also kind of color customizations for the different ships, as well as like engine color customization. So there's a few customization things you can unlock along the way as well. And we'll see what early access brings. I'm considering some more permanent progression stuff, but that's probably a little bit down the road if it's coming.
How much influence do you had in developing this game with other space games? Not particularly X4, but I guess other space games. So what was your influence before doing that?
Yeah, there's a lot of influence pulling all the way back to the days of when I was younger. I only had a Mac to play games on because that's all my family had, and so the only games that were really available were very limited amount, and one of them was Escape Velocity and Escape Velocity Nova, the whole Ambrosia line of software, and that was a big influence, and especially the style of how the game looks, but also some mechanical things. Other influences are not necessarily space games, but like games like Luftrausers and Jet Lancer, those kind of arcadey fighter pilot kind of games. I think in general, when we looked at like folks that liked this game, a lot of them liked similar space games like the X4 stuff and other space games as well. So we kind of looked for people that generally liked spaceship games to kind of reach out to see if they wanted to try it out. This is actually my first game I've ever made commercially. So back in 2019, I started thinking about doing game dev a little bit more seriously. I've always like kind of played around with the idea of it and like tinkered around with like map editors and stuff like that in different games. And in 2019, I kind of picked up Game Maker and started making a space shooter game because that's kind of like where I wanted to go, and it evolved along the way. I started just making like just a top-down like shooter in a contained room, and then it became like it's in a galaxy now. You can go to different planets, and then I kind of formed the whole saving the planets aspect around that because that's how you drive the people mechanically to the planets to kind of explore things. And it kept evolving from there. I think the whole saving the planets aspect really came from games like Into the Breach, which you are trying to save the cities there and not just yourself, not just your own mechs. Other indie games like Nuclear Throne was a big inspiration for some of the mechanics, as well as other roguelikes, Dead Cells, Enter the Gungeon, those kind of roguelikes as well.
You said that this is your first ever game. Were you expecting to launch it if when you started?
Yeah, it's been quite a journey. I mean, I technically launched this game like last year sometime with a demo, and that was kind of my first prototype. I put it out there and was like, hey, people kind of like this, and there's some people that are like, yeah, we kind of like this stuff. I was kind of gathering a little bit of a community, and at that time it was just kind of like a hobby project that I did on the side, and I didn't expect a whole lot out of it. This year, when I decided, I'm going to put it up on Steam, put it into early access, see how it does, I launched the Steam page and kind of got that rolling. It was doing okay, but then I put it into the Steam Festival this year, and it kind of did really, really well in there. Got a lot of wish lists, a lot of people interested in it, and so it really kind of became its own thing at that point, and not a little bit more than just a hobby project. I'm excited to see where it goes from here.
Maybe you can just talk a little bit about the design aspects of it, and just talk us through your design thought, how you wanted it to be in the end, how it's come to be like this.
So kind of the aesthetics, a lot of the aesthetics aspects come from other pixel art kind of games like Dead Cells was a big inspiration for aesthetically. They have really strong pixel art aesthetics, and one of the kind of unique things that I kept in was that kind of engine trail, the kind of scan line engine trail that I think gives the game a lot of personality. It doesn't look like exactly like every single other top-down space game out there because of that. And then some of the aesthetics for the enemies come from shows like Firefly, with kind of the Ravagers in that show, as well as a mix of some Mad Max aspects. You have like kind of the spikes and messy aspect of the technology that's kind of this feels really slapped together. And then some of the more good guys feel like their ships are a little bit more cleaner and more well put together compared to those enemy ones. And yeah, I had initially the aesthetics kind of just grew out of over time. I initially was going to do like hand done planets, but I eventually went to a shader and kind of like randomization and procedural generation of those planets because that was crazy to do hand done in a roguelike. It would have been much less diverse and enjoyable, in my opinion. And then some of the UI stuff, I obviously kind of drew inspiration from other roguelikes, but specifically from a game called Cogmind, which has a lot of really beautiful ASCII art, and they do their entire interface in ASCII art. So a lot of the font was developed specifically so I could kind of make the interface almost entirely text-based and kind of go along that lines, because I think that's kind of a really unique look to the interface. This is a little bit of an older one, but it still shows a lot of the good stuff. You can see a little bit how the interface has actually evolved from this one. In the current game, it's a little bit different, but a lot of the aesthetics have been evolving the entire time, and hopefully will keep evolving throughout early access.
Yeah, we will see also some boss mechanics, am I right? Are there some like ships that are like bosses in this game, or do you have like different ship classes which you need to fight to?
Yeah, there's definitely some different levels of ships. There's a couple that come in and that are really pretty easy that are kind of come in at first and just attack the planets, and they have some other ships that spawn that attack you. But then there's a few that are these modular ships which kind of have randomized elements to them, that they are much stronger and they're more like small bosses. I wouldn't say they're boss. I guess they are kind of bosses. They have a bunch of different attacks themselves that they will do and really amp up the difficulty there. There is kind of a final encounter in the game, which I won't speak about a lot, but it is a very large encounter. I'll just say, like, the ships that you see here are teeny compared to it. They pale in comparison. I think people have really enjoyed it that have gotten that far. It's a very unique encounter. There was one region in the demo, and then this one there's three different regions, and each get a little bit harder and have new mechanics as you go through them. And in order to do that, I didn't have enough weapons and upgrades to really cover the entire playthrough at the point when I had just the demo. So I had to make more, obviously, of those. But what I did with weapons specifically was I made a system where they can basically match together any weapon, and you can find that match together weapon. So, like, you might get a machine gun with a flame cannon that matches together, and you can set enemies on fire while at machine gun rate. And that kind of makes finding any weapon in the galaxy kind of exciting because you don't know what's going to get matched together to make some overpowered combination. Really help the run that you are currently on.
You said you're doing it on your own. You have a composer, but you definitely have some more input, don't you? More people or forums or whatever. Where do you get your input from?
We have a Discord that I have built a community, and so I get a lot of the feedback there. Now that we are in early access on Steam, I'm getting feedback on that as well from the forums there and other ways of getting feedback through Steam. But I think Discord is the main one. I really like to connect with the community there. We kick around a lot of ideas. A lot of the things that are brought up in Discord almost go directly into the game sometimes. Like, they'll think of ideas for upgrades, and I'll be like, that's a great idea, I'll just put it in the game. There's a lot of good back and forth there that I really enjoy.
Mind sharing the Discord link with us so that maybe some other people can also join? I can put that into chat. That would be nice. I guess a lot of people are interested also in being that close to a developer, I guess. It seems that your people are very, very close to you also when you get like ideas directly from them.
Yeah, it can be really, really good. I mean, not only does it give, like, when people tell me ideas, sometimes that specific thing isn't the thing that I put in the game, but that will make me think of something else along those same lines that helps to spark some more ideas. And that's a really, really powerful kind of brainstorming tool that I use with that Discord.
No, most roguelikes are so player centric, and you're like bringing more the idea into it that you have to save someone else. It's not about you.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's something it's funny because I watch people play, and they get really, really concerned when like even a single enemy hits the planet. They like kind of start freaking out a little bit because I've seen, even though like there's nothing on screen that shows them that other than the bar ticking up, they still get really concerned about it. And I think that's a really cool thing that I've instilled that kind of feeling of like, oh, I have to protect somebody else other than myself in this game.
You have to care for someone, not only yourself. I get that. That's a good way to being more involved.
Yeah, for sure. Getting them emotionally invested.
I have another question from our name. Do you think you will be able to achieve all of your goals by the end of early access, maybe even expansion later on? And you still would like to continue developing it after early access? And the last one is Space Squids. Do you have any?
Yes, there are space squids, actually.
Okay.
Space squids and space turtles and space
spiders?
Jellyfish.
Spiders?
Space what?
space spiders?
Spiders? I don't think I have spiders in there yet, but that's a pretty good idea.
Yeah, okay. No, we
I'll
don't
think
need
about that.
spiders. No. Spiders,
Yeah.
we don't need them. Yeah. So after early
Um,
access, is that something that you will finish when it's done, or you try to do something
yes.
more?
So early access so far. I mean, it's only been 2 weeks or a little bit less than 2 weeks since I got into early access. So far, I've already shipped a couple of patches to not only clean things up that were a little bit broken in the original game, but kind of one of the things that folks have said is like some criticism of the ammo system. So I'm already shipping some fixes for that. And then I plan on updating at least once a month as far as like some new content for the game. I want to get at least one decent sized patch out for content every month. And I'll see how it goes. It's possible this is a game that just remains in early access forever, and I just continue to update it. But it's also possible, like in 6 months to a year, I decide this is kind of where I want to wrap the game up and say this is the full game, the full experience, and ship that. And that doesn't mean that I won't do any more work on it, but I think it just depends on where it feels like in kind of the 6 months to a year time. If it feels like this is where I want to wrap it up, or if I want to continue developing on it. I currently love developing on it, so I want to keep working on it. That's why I did early access. Is I just want to keep working on it mostly. There might be a point in the future that I say I want to work on something else and kind of wrap this one up and move on.
How would you describe being successful with Power of 10? Being able to working as a game developer from now on in the future, or just having a lot of people playing the game, or just having a lot of maybe gaining some influence in the space? What would be what's your dream of success with Power of 10?
I think it's mostly the second one you mentioned there, which is people playing the game. I think that's what kind of drives me is when I see a lot of people playing the game, I get really excited. And I think if I was able to work on it full time, I think I would be able to serve my community better, and which would be a win for me. And I would be able, but I think it's mostly driven by the more people playing and enjoying the game. That's when I feel the most happy is when I see a lot of people playing and enjoying it.
Is there anything about that game that you would really like to let people know?
I think I mostly talked about the whole saving planets or saving systems aspect. I really want to talk about the end boss, but I also don't really want to talk about it because I do think it's very unique, and I don't want to spoil it for anyone. Like most indie games, end bosses are just kind of a repeat of the other bosses in some form, but just more of the same thing. This is not that. It has very specific mechanics. It's almost like a MMO boss in some form. It has like aspects where you can shoot off parts of it, and you can actually go inside of the ship. I guess that's all I'll say. It's like you can go
Oh,
inside of the ship,
wow, that's
which
huge
is
then.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, it's pretty big. So I think that's probably that's kind of a teaser for like get to the end boss and
I
you'll
see
have a
you
good time.
smiling there all the time. This is so cool, right? You want to scream it at people, but you can't. You don't want to spoil it, right?
I know. I'll just say that the sprite that I made for the end boss probably took me, I think, 18 hours to make. Just the single sprite, well, not single sprite, but the ship sprite. It's huge. It's absolutely massive, and it's really cool. And I just hope that people can enjoy that very soon.
So thank you. I would say we're wrapping that up. Until now, I would only say thank you very much. Oh, Andrew, and I hope that you have a lot of good time with this game in the future, and also a lot of good time with game development.
Yeah, thank you for having me, and hope you all have a good day.
Thank you so much, Andrew. Have a nice one.
I'll
See you.
talk to you later.